G'day, my name's Ben. Before I get stuck into this video, I'll give you a little bit of a background about myself. I've got a trade background, but it's definitely not mechanical. Sort of enjoyed working on the tools, took up a bit of an office job, and was finding that I was really missing building stuff. So I bought myself a wrecked Sportster, had a bit of fun putting that together, worked out how these bikes sort of work, and really enjoyed it. Was like, let's do it again. So that sort of leads me to this.
This isn't a junkyard, this is a garage.
This right here is a 2008 Deluxe. It's the Japanese version, Japanese release. I bought it at an auction just off a couple of photos. There wasn't really a lot I could see in the photos. It had some bent bars. These aren't the bars that were on it at the time. They were a bit on the piss. I'll put up a photo here. Yeah, the front end didn't look too straight. Sort of thought, you know, we'll just change the bars over, bang in some new fork lowers or the tubes even, and get the little dent in the tank sorted out, and she should be good to go. So I had it backloaded to me in a furniture van. It came from interstate, so I'm trying to do this all on a budget. That was the cheapest way I found to be able to do it. So the day that it rocked up, we had this like really gloomy day with a heap of sea fog. It was, yeah, pretty ominous, like what was about to roll out of this furniture van. When I saw it for the first time, I saw that there was a fair bit of non-standard gear on it, and yeah, a lot more damage than what I anticipated. So I'll go over the damage starting at the front. The fork, the actual lowers were snapped clean out. There was yeah, no oil in the left-hand side one. The right-hand side, I think there was a bit left in it, but it might have had a leak or something in it, crack in it that it was leaking out of. Obviously the tubes were bent. I found out later when I was sort of starting to piece things, or pulling things apart a bit more, that the lower tree on it was a bit twisted. So we covered the bars that were bent. There's a dent in the tank here. The front guard was like really twisted. I've done a little bit of work on this, and it's still not the prettiest thing going around. It had some big radius pipes on it, some chrome, big rads. They had a couple of scratches on them. It had saddlebags on the back that were from a Heritage. I think that they sort of might have taken a bit of the blow and saved it from too much more damage than what it already had. The brake master cylinder, the rear brake master, was all just snapped apart. All the plastic components of it were all broken. It had no seat on it, which I saw in the auction photos. I wasn't really too fussed about that. And it had this real janky 200 rear end on it. It had a fiberglass guard that none of the holes lined up with where the hole should have been on the stock guard. It looked like someone had bought a fiberglass guard and widened it, and then there was like metal stuck down the inside in the middle with Sikaflex. The wiring was just Sikaflex to the inside. It did still have the tombstone light, but it had little bullet indicators on it, so I was pretty happy about pulling the tombstone off it, because I sort of wanted that for what I was running with, or what I planned to run with. It had a 17x6 rear smooth rim on it, and it had the plastic insert was all trimmed. And I was pretty sort of bummed seeing it, because for what I planned to do with it, it was just, I didn't film a lot of pulling it apart because I was so I was sort of a bit taken aback. Like I was doing this to be a bit of a budget build, but I thought that it might have been a bit more than what it would have financially made sense to build. So I was toying with the idea of just completely parting it all out and hoping to recover some of my money that way. But as it turned out, I was doing a fair bit of research online, looking at part numbers, referencing them with the microfiche that's available online. It's got heaps of info on there. If you're not familiar with that, check it out if you're into building bikes. And yeah, sort of worked out that there wasn't too much that was real different. So I put some ads out online on social media and on Gumtree and like Marketplace and that sort of thing. And I found someone who had a Heritage in the same city that I'm in, and he wanted a 200 rear end. So worked out a deal where we just basically straight swapped. So I got his rear guard, which is a little bit different with some of the mounting for the lights and stuff, but the shape is the same. Got his struts and the strut covers and his 16-inch rear wheel. So I was pretty happy with that. It started to sort of make me feel a bit better about doing some work on this thing. One other thing was in those saddlebags, which they sort of, all the brackets were broken and I was just going to turf them, but I thought, like someone might want them, chuck them online for $100, so I sold them. But there was I was digging through them and there was a receipt in there. And it was a receipt from a super cheap auto store. And you can become a club member there if you're not familiar with it. When you get your receipts, they send you an email copy, but they also have your name on it if you're a club member. I was digging around and I found this receipt from Supercheap with a name on it. I thought, I wonder if this was the person who owned the bike, so I didn't know it came straight from an auction house. And they don't give you any of that sort of information. So anyway, jumped on the socials, onto one of the Australian Harley groups, typed the name in, there was a match, so I just thought, I'll just flick him a message and see if it's him, see if I can find out a little bit about what happened to it, the bike's history, and also see if he had any of the stock parts to make my life a little bit easier. He didn't have any of the stock stuff, unfortunately, so it turned out it was the guy. He didn't have any of the stock parts. He gave me a bit of a rundown of what happened. So it had a head-on with a car. I'm not sure of the speed or anything involved. He was okay, which was good news. But yeah, it sort of paints a bit of a better picture as to how this thing looks the way it does and why the damage is so bad on it. So he was actually a real good bloke, bit of a legend. He said that he had it has a cam in it, a Screaming Eagle cam, and he had the race tuner. So he offered to send that up to me in the post. I said, give us your bank details, I'll slip you some money to buy yourself some beers or whatever. Wasn't having any of it. So yeah, big shout outs to you, mate. You've done me a solid there. Apart from that, everything else is sort of as you see it. There was, it's been in a crash, so there was minor scratches and stuff on everything. Okay, so where to from here? What's next? I've put a bit of a parts list together of everything that I'm going to need for this.
I will only need two things, a roll of duct tape and a knife.
And I've got an idea in my head of the direction I want the build to take. So I've been gradually buying parts off Gumtree, Facebook Marketplace, a couple of bits off eBay, and took a bit of a parts list down to Adelaide Harley Davidson Bike Works and put it in order there. So I've had parts gradually rocking up, probably every other day I've got something arriving on the doorstep. First thing I need to do is rebuild the front end. I need to get it to be basically a roller so I can take it down to the crash repairers where they're going to do a little bit of work, fix the guards and the ding in the tank, and then put some paint on it. I'm 90% certain of the colour that I'm going to paint this bike. If you think you know what it is, or you've got an idea of what colour I should paint it, leave a comment. Who knows, you might be able to sway me to go with what your idea is. After that, then the fun will start of putting this thing back together. Yeah, as I said, I've got an idea, the direction, the build I want to go with this, but I'm not going to give it all away just yet. So next episode, I'll be putting the front end together, and then, yeah, progression from there. So if you do decide that you want to come back and watch a low budget Jesus try and work a miracle on this thing, come back and check it out. If not, cool, you do you. I'm not going to tell you to like and subscribe and all that sort of stuff. If you want to do it, do it. If not, no dramas. All right, that'll wrap this one up. So might see you back on the next one. Cheers.